in the room.
I don't want to go there. I don't do that well. So I'm just gonna bring it back here and talk.
Oh, you want to? Oh, that's fine.
Are you gonna go?
Cotton ball.
Say something?
Can I record you?
Say something, and I'm not coming up because I'm a little like Larry. I don't like the stage. Me either. Okay, well, you do you, and then I'm gonna go back there, okay?
Do me? There's kids in the room.
Well, not like that.
All I know is I married into the Brunk family with Rosie, and all of the kids, all the guys, would always be at her house all the time. They loved each other. They had the best time with each other, and it was just amazing. Mike would show up in the middle of the night, and it's like we'd wake up in the morning. Where's Rosie? Well, her car is gone, but Mike's is here. They're either at the apple orchards or they're at the river. And he would always, a lot of times, he'd come over in the middle of the night. He'd pick up me and Rosie, sometimes Larry or whoever else was there, all of his friends. And we'd be out there at the river. We'd all be drinking and partying and have a great time, just playing in the water, having a great time listening to super great music. And he'd always say, let's do some Rockfords. He'd get into her car and go super fast forward, stop super fast backwards, slam the brakes on and turn around and pop the tires right off her back of her car, both of them.
Wow.
People would be looking at us because they'd pop the trunk, and I'm at the front windshield, stupid. I was like, 16, trying to wash the front windshield that's full of mud with beer and a paper bag. It didn't work. And they're pulling out of the trunk 2 ramps, a floor jack, and tires and rims, whatever, trying to change these back 2 tires. It was awesome. Darling.
Larry,
I'm gonna miss him.
Have stage fright.
Every time I see the Rockford Files, I think of
There's so
my
much
Cherrington.
more.
You got
Short and
this.
sweet.
I don't even.
Don't worry about it.
Good job, Tanya.
Very nice.
Cherrington's
Thank you.
amazing.
I'm gonna be like Larry. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, don't use me anymore,
I'm
guys.
Larry. I've known you for like 36 years.
I love
So-
that.
When I met Mike in 1986, he was amazing. Martin's best friend. I met Tammy. He had the boys. We had our boys. Long story short, Michael's been an amazing young man, an amazing older man. His beautiful daughter came in, which is amazing. You guys' relationship is fantastic, and I love it. Michael lived with me for a year. Well, and my husband.
Oh, I was traveling a lot.
Yeah, he came with us, and my husband travels a lot. Michael, I know you're laughing at that one. He came with us, and my husband said, I travel for a living, and Michael, you will watch my family and my wife. And he said, I will do that. So every day, we even lived in a 2-story, and he'd call my phone, text it, and say, hey, do you want to have a cigarette? I'm like, Michael, it's 12 o'clock. I got to work in the morning. He said, well, I want to have a cigarette. I said, all right, Michael, let's meet downstairs. We'd meet down on the patio, and we'd have our cigarette, and we'd talk for 2 hours probably every night. Friday nights, Mart would be home. We'd all have our cocktails together. It was Friday night happy hour, family happy hour. Bree, I have a son, Brandon and Blake. And it was amazing. My dad was kind. Makes me cry.
Mike was great.
He was sweet and loving, and he watched out after us. He watched out after us for our whole life. And Kelly, his girl, after Tammy and all that, she's an amazing woman. We've done a lot with Kelly for a lot of years, actually.
10 years, I think, right?
Pardon me? About a good solid 8 years, I think I've known Kelly. And we've gone out many times together. She's a beautiful soul as well. I'm not good at this, I'm sorry. End of the day, I think your dad is amazing. And I love him. And I'm really gonna fucking miss him. And I'm done.
Wait a minute. Tell him about his laugh.
Okay.
He loves this.
He would really piss me off some days when he'd be like, Tamara, let's go have that cigarette. I'm like, Michael, what are you doing tomorrow? He goes, I'm working at 10, Tamara. I said, well, I work at 7. And he would go,
What's his laugh?
and that laugh. And every time, I'm like, Michael, you're really making me angry. And he'd chuckle and that laugh. I told my husband, I said, that laugh was so perfectly contagious. And that you look at him and he's just so adorable and kind, and I can't say enough of how a beautiful human being your dad is.
Most definitely.
And now this time I really am done. That's it for me. You know what? You should have come up and gave that to me up there.
She wanted to.
What?
What?
What are you doing?
I can't see you.
Why are you taking a video?
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Oh, it's very helpful. Adam, who are you?
I'm related. This guy, I know that guy, I know that guy.
How do you know him?
Well, some of my fondest memories with Dad all started up at the lot. We'd spend hours we'd plan everything out around the meteor showers. And we'd get lucky with the meteor storms, but we would spend hours just sitting up there staring into the sky, and his curiosity was unlimited. Some of those talks were some of the most memorable talks I had with him, just exploring realms of possibility, just the endless amount of questions about life. And even after we grew up, I moved out, he would still come over. He'd come over at like 11 o'clock at night, and we'd just sit in the backyard staring up at the stars and just exploring more and more questions that didn't have answers. But that said a lot about Dad. He was curious, and he wasn't afraid of the unknown. He wanted answers, and it's the thing. When normal people would be afraid, even going into the Air Force, it wasn't just curiosity. His curiosity really led him. Normal people, they didn't meet the weight requirement. They weren't able to get into the Air Force or something, and they would have taken that out. But he pushed. He hid weights under his clothes just so he could get into the Air Force and explore this unknown, this exciting new adventure. And that's the thing. He transformed that curiosity, that fear, into such joy. He found those answers. He lived everything to the fullest. But he was never afraid. Even to the end, he was ready for that next step. He was ready to find his answers. But he just transformed every ounce of fear into an experience, and he transferred that to us. He let us receive that joy, that transformation. And he really led by example, never wanting to be afraid, never letting fear show, just being strong and ready to find your own answers.
Amazing.
I'm gonna miss him, and I only hope to live by his example. That's about it.
Larry, yes.
It's not working for me.
I gotta tell one story. I wouldn't even tell the story about what happened to Betty.
Yeah.
Don't tell all of them, Steve.
Uncle Steve.
This thing worked or not?
Yeah, it works. I think. Right? Was it working?
Wait.
Alright, what was I gonna say?
Brother Steve.
You know, I'm thinking of which story to tell.
Come on. The good ones.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna get close. Who cares?
I'm a ladies man, putting on, thinking I'm a bad guy. Going up to everybody telling they're ugly and no one does it funny.
I'm in the way.
The bouncers come up to me and they go, "You gotta go." I go, "Okay." I go, "We'll go downstairs and beat all you guys." So I said, "Go. If you're messing with him too much, so be careful, you know." And they went down there, two of them, grabbed him by the arm, right and left, and he wasn't doing nothing except talking to a girl at the bar. And it just irritated the crap out of him, that you got thrown out for what I did.
We all got thrown out for what
So
you
we
did.
get the man, he goes, "I'm gonna tear the front doors off this place." And I go, "Okay, well, pull up the rear license plate." So he gets out and pulls up the rear license plate. And I'm sitting in the driver's passenger seat, and he's driving alongside Mr. Lucky's.
Yep.
And the doors are open, and the bouncer's sitting out there acting all bad. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat going, "Get out the way, buddy." And I hit them doors and tore them both off the engines.
Right to the bottom.
And they had the cops looking for us all night. They didn't catch us.
Today's Oh, for sure. For sure.
Okay. There was another time when Mike was sort of trying not to get in trouble. He was going down Bell Road and just like Cape Road, and he got in trouble with the cops for walking down the middle of the street. Well, he didn't have any ID on him, so he decided to give his best friend's name, Larry Brunk. Next thing you know, Larry Brunk gets called to court. Thank you very much, Michael Cherrington. God, I love the man. He was so awesome. I knew him in the early 80s to almost 90. And it's like, he was a very, very kind-hearted, great person. And he loved to screw his friends. And he did it in the most gracious way. So,
Thank you for hearing that.
he did it so, man, to be his children, you guys are blessed. So blessed. And I thought I was blessed just knowing him. But to be related to him, you guys have it. Yeah. I knew him in the middle. Actually, more towards this side. Okay. I need to put these down. What's next? Yeah.
What, do you want to say?
Look like this guy, I have to change it.
Michael Cherry.
You'd rather
Is there a lid on the floor? Okay. Wait. Is there a lid on the floor?
Hello everyone, my name is Adam. Some of you guys probably know me, some of you don't. I'm Kelly's son over here. Mike has been a big part of my life for the past 7, 8 years till I turned about 17, 18. We became really close and started off as a family friend, really just became a big part of our family. And even from the first time I ever really met Mike, I knew he was an interesting character. I remember his little one-bedroom apartment over in North Phoenix when I first saw him, and I remember walking inside his apartment, and it was all covered with radio parts and bottles of Pop-Off, and I was just thinking, Mom and him explained to me that he was big in the firefighter and forestry community. I mean, he was a big part of helping with communications and cell towers and radios. I mean, I was just kind of amazed by everything. It's not just the stories, but the fact that he finished half the handle of Pop-Up by the time he told me that story. But in all seriousness, no, I love Mike very dearly. He's going to be very missed, and I appreciate every moment and every memory he gave me. So, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I gotta share my mom's story.
Hey, keep it going.
There you go, my friend. So Mike goes out to this desert party, right? Larry Brunk's out there. And he's watching Mike throw his tire, he's watching this guy throw his tire in the fire, and the tire's making black smoke, so Mike goes over there and grabs the tire and throws it out. Well, this big guy, he goes over there and throws it back. Mike goes over and throws it back on. The big guy goes, hey, you got a problem?
Thank you. Yes, please.
Mike goes, there's no sense in making all this about that time the big guy hit him. Knocked him on the ground, knocked him on his back, up on top of him, beating the heck out of him. I go, Mike, you better wake up. So Mike swings a right punch. He gets a lucky punch and knocks the guy out. No kid. Gets up, gets tired out, throws the tire out.
No, thank you.
Waits for the guy to and that was the end of
That's awesome.
I used to create those firefighters.
Yeah.
I brought my friends part of mine. I was that big.
Waking up with
Somebody shop. Yeah, about there ain't no money made there anymore. Another bad beat. Bad beats.
Alright, it's the last call for anybody that wants to grab this mic and share a story. Unless.
Alright, I'm going to close it out. Mike, I'm John's husband, by the way, so he's my father-in-law, and I didn't have all the experiences everybody else did. You know, I walked into a family, and my first experience with him was at Outback, and I never saw him the whole meal. Everybody's like, "Where's Mike?" And I'm like, "Who's this Mike guy?" You know, and he comes back and sits down, and he's like, "Man," one guy asked me, "Are you Larry the Cable Guy?" And he's like, "So I just started into some Larry the Cable Guy routine." He's like, "They think I'm Larry the Cable Guy." I was like, "I love this guy." I was like, he played it out because that was his nature, you know. And the story about him with the getting somebody to hit the tire iron on the ice, he did that with us one day. We're out riding quads, and you might have saw like a younger guy, bald head. He passed away earlier this year. And we were out together riding quads, and I was towards the back, and then all of a sudden we just, the one quad like stopped, the other one hit that one, and then I ran into that one, and we had ran over a rattle right there underneath there. So we pushed him out of the way, and Mike's like, "Hey, get your camera. Okay, throw some rocks in that bush." He went in the bush. "Throw some rocks in that bush." And so and we've got our little cell phone cameras, we're trying to like capture, we're trying to get the rattle on there. And he's just back there instigating. "Okay, hey, grab this stick, man. This is a long stick." And we still have that video somewhere. That's the kind of guy he was. Like, he really was adventure. He wanted you to get in there and experience it. You know, he did mess with you. But it was so memorable. We had the biggest laugh. We were scared to death. I mean, listen, it's from us to this chair. But it's just, he's like, no, it'll never get you from there. I'll never get you from there. But get that phone in. He's like, get your reach. He's like, get your reach. And he just like would push you to do so much. But he was so kind too. He made our wedding possible. And that was one of the funnest days. And it's just, he lived with us for a while, and it was so much fun watching Mythbusters constantly. And his favorite Mythbuster was the one where they blew up the cement truck. And that's still my favorite too. I'm like, yes, this guy appreciates explosions and science and possibilities and creativity, but he still loved you enough just to mess with you just a little bit. Because my dad lives over 1,000 miles away, so Mike was like my dad for the longest time. I needed a dad that was near me. And I remember on Christmas, and I told you guys, I appreciate your dad so much. And I don't think I ever expressed it the right way or enough, and maybe not even to him. But I remember we were sitting there, and we smelled electrical smoke. And I was like, oh man, what's going on? And I noticed smoke's like pouring out of our bathroom. And so I went in, and like one of the outlets was like pumping smoke into the medicine cabinet and into the bathroom. And I had no idea what to do. I'm scared to death of electricity. I'll do plumbing, I'll put in tile, but you get around electricity, I don't know what to do. I was like, call Mike. Instead of better call Saul, better call Mike. And he lived all the way down in Central Phoenix at the time. I was like, dude, I got smoke coming out of an outlet. I was like, I have no idea what to do. He's like, okay, go. He goes, flip off your breakers until the smoke stops. He goes, come get me. So I went all the way down to Central Phoenix. We lived in North Phoenix. Bring him all the way back. And as we're going, I start hearing the seatbelt sign. Ding, 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 ding. I was like, Mike. He's like, hold on. So he tried to get the seatbelt off, but it was stuck on the seat. So we literally had to pull over into this random neighborhood on 12th Street, which is not a safe spot. And we're sitting there, and we had to take the chair off of its rails a little bit to get the seatbelt so he could actually sit in the seatbelt, and he still put it behind him and everything. And we get all the way up there, and he, on the spot, installed a new electrical outlet and taught me about electricity. He's like, oh man, it was, talking about hots and neutrals and everything. And I felt like I could do it after that. He really just on the spot stepped in to be a dad figure. And I don't know how else to express it. And I loved your dad like he was my dad. I needed that dad that was nearby, and he definitely filled that role. So I want to just, anybody that knows him, you know exactly what I mean. And I loved every story tonight, and I'm so glad that I got to experience a little bit of that zaniness and that love, that kindness, the provision, you name it. He definitely filled that role, and I'm going to start crying if you don't. Please don't. But thank you all so much for sharing him with me. Thank you, boys. Thank you so much for sharing your dad with me. Getting to know your family was so easy, and it was so easy because he and all of you made it so easy. So my love goes out to you, man. I miss your dad tremendously today. Thank you.
Everybody for coming. Thank you, everybody that helped put all of this together. Krista, your whole family. Thank you all for everything you've done here. And it really was a lot that had come together to make this happen. So I know he wanted us to party, and I know we're kind of doing a bad job at that. But but we're just gonna miss him a lot. It was his wishes that whoever wanted a piece of him can get a piece of him. So we've broken off legs and fingers and the back. I'm sorry. Really though, he's been cremated, and anybody that wants any of him can have some, for a keepsake or whatever it is. So, Hey, and he really did have an awesome attitude at the very end. And those that don't know, July he was diagnosed with end-stage fibrotic lung disease, and he knew his days were very limited. And I couldn't help but put myself in his position, sitting in the hospital bed as the doctors were telling us these things. And I was the wreck and I was the mess. And he's over there literally cracking some jokes about it. But at the same time, we still had some good, serious conversations. And he did his best to line everything up, for when this day came. And I mean, it's just admirable, to face such a scary situation. He called it. He said it was. He sees it as going into the military. That's how he saw it. He said he didn't know what to expect when he went into the Air Force. He said this is very similar. He said he didn't know what to expect really, but he knows it's good. I mean, he knows Jesus, so he knew where he was going. So.
And I knew him when he came back. He was amazing.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah. It's good to know he's never changed. But Sky Daddy is what he called him. So he had a good relationship with Sky Daddy. I hope you liked all of this, Dad.